Hey guys, what's up? It's Katie and I'm back with another Marvel Contest of Champions video. And today we're going to talk about Black Widow. No, not this Black Widow. This Black Widow, Clairvoyant. Now, Clairvoyant, she was a spirit medium when she was human, gifted with communicating with the dead. And now when she was performing a routine seance with the Wagner family, the Wagler family, she was possessed by Satan and accidentally put a curse on the Wagler family. The resulting curse ended up in a fatal car accident where only James Wagler, this guy, survived. And he accused Clairvoyant of, causing the death of his family, which he was actually goaded on by Satan. And he gunned Clairvoyant down. And as she was dying, she vowed to have her revenge. So Clairvoyant ended up dying and went to hell, where Satan bestowed upon her the power of the Black Widow. She was given the Black Widow costume, and Satan was like, go above and avenge your death. So she actually did. She went back to Earth and killed James Wagler. So she avenged her death and returned to hell, and Satan basically said, hey, you're kind of good at this, especially with that death touch I gave you, which we'll talk about later because he gave her some other abilities too that we'll go into it in a little bit. But she returned to hell, and Satan said she was good at it, so he gave her the task of expediting souls of evil men back to hell, and she did that through the process of her death touch. So with one touch to the forehead, boom, sent the mortal soul screaming down to hell. So she was doing that for a while, and what better place to send evil men back to hell than during World War II, which is when all of this was occurring with the Nazis. So she actually ended up teaming up with Vision Arcus. Ooh, little tie-in there of why these two champs are released together. And also the Invaders, which are these guys, to fight the Nazis. Now, Black Widow, Clairvoyant, and 11 other heroes entered the headquarters of the SS in Berlin kind of as a recon mission to just kind of gather intel and stuff. But during their mission, they were actually trapped by the Nazis in the basement, and they were kind of put into a comatose state in these little cells. They look a lot like the oxygen cells that was in Deadpool. So the heroes were left there because the Nazis were going to wake them up after they assumed they were going to win World War II. And little did they know, the Axis powers were defeated and the Allies won. So the 12 heroes were kind of forgotten about until they were discovered by some construction workers. Now, these 12 heroes became known as the 12. And in 2008 was when they were discovered. Now, the Pentagon, they brought these 12, which these are kind of the newer form of them, to America and unthawed them and asked them to work for the government and comply with the Superhuman Registration Act, which was brought on during the Civil War arc. Now, for those of you who don't know, this act basically requires all super beings to register with SHIELD and basically hand over all personal knowledge, everything about them to SHIELD. So, but anyway, I digress. So after, kind of adjusting to modern day, they were frozen for 60 years, much like Cap was at the end of Captain America, the First Avenger. So following that, Black Widow, Clairvoyant, she developed a relationship with the Phantom Reporter, who was also one of the 12. Now, not soon after, Blue Blaze, who was also a member of the 12, had been killed by Electro. No, not this Electro. This Electro. The robot Electro. And now, the Phantom Reporter, he actually discovered that Electro, the robot Electro, had been searching for them whilst they were kind of frozen in time, and Electro had made contact with the Dynamic Man, and Dynamic Man then actually controlled Electro and caused him to kill Blue Blaze. So after discovering this, the Phantom Reporter and the remaining 12, I should say, they confronted Dynamic Man and they killed them. Now, afterwards, Black Widow, she kind of returned back to hell and began doing her more missions for Satan, you know, collecting souls of evil men and I guess probably evil women too. Now, she later returned and actually joined Mastermind Excello's company, EXC Enterprises. So that was basically kind of like a crime fighting company that they did. And the Phantom Reporter and he also joined, and they also kind of took their really like bizarre relationship to the next level. And as you can see, their costumes kind of got updated, so kind of gotten a more modern twist on it. Now, she basically kind of had a tough time. She's got some really cool abilities. You can see her costumes changed over time, but she's got some crazy abilities. Now, like I said, when she was mortal, she was a really powerful psychic, which allowed her to communicate with the spirits of the dead. Now, this continued after she was given her powers by the devil, and she was transformed into the Black Widow. Now, when she was given her powers, she became resistant to injury and pretty much to bullets too. She was pretty much gifted the gift of immortality. I keep saying gifted. She was gifted the gift of immortality. She has increased strength and endurance. She can fly. She can become invisible. She can plant suggestions into the minds of others, which is really crazy. She can also regenerate and heal others, and she can teleport to and from hell. Now, the death touch is really astonishing. Basically, it's one touch to the forehead is what she gives her enemies, it instantly kills them, transports their soul to hell, and leaves the mark of a Black Widow spider on their forehead. Now, this only works on human foes, though, so other superhumans, it's not gonna work out so well. So this is the Marvel Contest of Champions version of her. She does kind of look like the newer edition, the newer suit that she had following, you know, when she awoke in 2008. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of her abilities that she has. So this information was leaked by MCOC Journal and Otrix a few weeks ago, so big shout out to them. They're always great at releasing information to us. So let's go ahead and take a look at her signature ability. Now, remember, this is for a 565 Sig 200, so she has death immunity, grants immunity to death under certain circumstances. When receiving damage that would knock her out, death touch is removed instead, and Claire gains a death immunity buff, preventing death and healing X% of her health over a certain number of seconds. So it's kind of like a cheat death mechanic right there, so I kind of like that. A lot of champions are getting that nowadays. You know, Corvus has got one, Hela's got it, so. Now let's take a look at her abilities. Claire has types of curses, each providing her with a different immunity. However, only one curse can be active at a time. By default, the Curse of Blood is active, landing a 4th light attack. Cast the next curse in the following order. So the Curse of Blood is bleed immunity, Curse of Plague is poison immunity, and the Curse of Hellfire is incinerate immunity. So she's got some really cool immunities that you can cycle through, and this would definitely make her very suicide friendly, right? Because you've got the bleed and the poison, so this makes her very suicide friendly. Now, Curse of the Blood grants bleed immunity and causes certain curse effects to trigger bleed on opponent, dealing X direct damage. Curse of the Plague grants poison immunity and causes certain curse effects to trigger poison on the opponent, dealing a certain amount of damage and reducing health recovery by 30%. So she is going to be super beneficial for suicides, as she's going to put a lot of damage over time debuffs on you, which is great. I'm a huge fan of damage over time debuffs, Curse of Hellfire grants incinerate immunity and causes certain curse effects to trigger incinerate on the opponent, dealing damage, removing perfect block chance, and reducing block proficiency by 50%. Finishing a combo with a medium attack inflicts this debuff. Throwing a heavy attack or special one inflicts debuffs. The debuffs are determined by Claire's active curse and last for a certain number of seconds. Okay. So let's look at this charge, the Clairvoyance charge. While at one or more charges, landing or receiving attacks nullifies a buff from the opponent. So she's got the nullify ability, much like Scarlet Witch. Claire starts with certain charges. Each time she or her opponent are immune to any effect or an immunity purifies a pre-existing effect, she gains 1 charge and % of her max power. Charges stack up to, so this is saying 2. If the opponent has 1 or more buffs, landing or receiving a light medium attack consumes a charge and nullifies one of their buffs. So this is great. She's going to be great for those champs that have a lot of buffs, like, you know, the champion, like Venom, that sort of thing. The Death Touch increases the potency of all curse effects, and this champion is immune to death and regenerates health over time. So this is another good champ who's got regeneration effects going on for her. Okay, so now let's take a look at her specials. Curse of Damnation, summoning a blast from the underworld. Claire curses her opponent, so she's going to put one of the curses on. Curse of Blood, Plague, or Hellfire. Wrath. I can read. Wrath of the Widow. Leaping forward, Claire uses her shadow limbs to slash the opponent with a series of devastating blows. 100% chance to inflict the opponent with buff immunity for 2 seconds, decreasing 50% chance against science champs. Very cool. Each hit grants an effect determined by Claire's active curse. So if they've got Curse of the Blood, she's going to regenerate a certain percentage of the damage dealt. If she's got Curse of the Plague, she's going to steal a certain percentage of the opponent's power. And if she's got Curse of the Hellfire, she's going to deal a burst of direct energy damage. So she's got some power control here too, which is great. I love that they're introducing champs with power control, especially when you've got those pesky all or nothing nodes. All right, now her special 3 is called Soul Reaver. Claire seals the opponent's fate, marking their forehead with the touch of death and sentencing their soul to hell. All clairvoyance charges are removed, each increasing her attack rating during this attack by X. Claire gains Death Touch, lasting for a certain number of seconds per clairvoyance charge removed. Death Touch increases the potency of all curse effects by a certain percentage and is not affected by ability accuracy reduction. So this is going to make her a pretty good champ. So I am super interested to see how she's going to be. So let's take a look at her synergies. So she's got a synergy with the Human Torch, Mephisto, and Sunspot, which makes sense, right? Mephisto is always depicted as the devil, so that definitely makes sense. Whenever the opponent is immune to Incinerate, they're inflicted with a slow debuff for a certain amount of seconds, reducing the ability accuracy of Unstoppable and Evade effects by 100%. This debuff does not stack and will not trigger if the opponent has natural class advantage. So you're definitely not going to want to take this in against a science champ, but this is going to be great to deal with those pesky Korgs who go unstoppable. Definitely good against the champion, that sort of thing. So this is a really good synergy. I definitely like this. So we've got the Guilty Souls, where all champions gain an attack when fighting against villain opponents. Again, you know, ties into the comic lore where she would send evil souls back to hell. And then you've got Judgment Day. All champions reduce the duration of opponents' buffs by a certain percent. And then you've got Spider Bite with Black Widow. So with this one, with Clairvoyant, while Death Touch is active, all attacks reduce the opponent's chance of triggering their abilities by a certain percentage. And then Black Widow, activating a special attack, grants a Fury buff, increasing attack rating by 20% for 6 seconds. So, you know, Black Widow, she already gets the precision and cruelty, so she's gonna hit pretty hard. Now we also have got a spell a day, keep the doctors away, with Doctor Strange, and the final hit of the special 2 has a certain percent chance to inflict stun for 2 seconds. So I'm really thinking the best ones for this are definitely this one with the Human Torch, Mephisto, or Sunspot. It's always great to have a counter to Unstoppable. So, you know, especially with the She-Hulk nerf coming in, could this be another way to defeat the champion boss without using items? Only time will tell. But that's all that I got, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the new Black Widow? How do you think she's gonna be? Do you think she could potentially be like the new Scarlet Witch? Are you gonna grind for her, or are you gonna open a bunch of crystals? I might open a couple crystals. But let me know in the comments below and let's discuss. As always, guys, thanks so much for watching. If you guys liked what you saw and you want to see more, please remember to like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and hit me up in the Discord chat. Thanks, guys. Bye.